Welcome to the Wonder Boldly podcast, hosted by yours truly, Christine, founder of Drizzle Academy. I am going to encourage and motivate you to take action towards your big goals. I'm going to teach you everything I've learned from building a very successful 25-year career, coaching people, and starting my own online business. I am going to give you so many action items. You are going to be able to wonder boldly. Hello. Welcome everybody to another episode of Wonder Boldly. Today I am so excited to have with me somebody I just met. I actually had reached out to her to do I was doing my own market surveys, and she graciously offered to assist, and we've connected. And in doing that market research with her, I was like, you are the perfect person to have on the podcast. My audience needs to and wants to hear how people are taking the leap, going from wondering about something to actually taking action and making things happen for themselves. So I got brave and I said, hey, Sarah, you want to be on the podcast? And she graciously accepted. We've had a few of my own little hiccups in scheduling it. She's been so flexible. It's been awesome. And we're finally making it happen today. So I'm so happy to bring Sarah to you. She is a certified holistic nutritionist who works with women in corporate, professional women who are looking to take better care of themselves. You know, we put so much time and effort into our professions and our jobs, and we kind of sometimes can let our own wellness kind of fall through the cracks or not put a lot of emphasis there. So she is helping women to put emphasis there on our wellness, on having more energy. Who doesn't need more energy, right? So she is all I think of her. And when I said to her today, you know, how do we encapsulate Sarah Knight? I just think of her as like a wellness coach. She is so much more than that. So I'm going to turn it over now to Sarah and let her introduce herself, and then we'll go into some questions. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us. This is so great.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, you know, the ins and outs in regards to what you're currently doing, and then we'll get into, I'll start asking you some questions that I know my audience members are going to want to hear.
Okay, yeah. So like you said in the introduction, I help corporate and professional women who struggle with inability to lose weight, sleep issues, and lack of energy. I worked in corporate America for 7 years, and I felt firsthand, you know, how much stress comes with that territory and how much havoc it was wreaking on my body, and all of my colleagues as well. I think that women are a lot of times overworked, overstressed, and under-rested. And so, you know, dealing with my own personal body image issues from the time I was a kid, and then experiencing that in my corporate job, I really wanted to help myself and help other women. So I went and got my nutrition certification and took the leap, and I started my own nutrition practice.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Tell us a little bit about that. So what does that mean for those of us that don't know, raise my hand like myself, what does that mean to get certified, and how long does that take? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so there are different programs out there. I studied at Bowman College. They're based out of Berkeley, California. And that was an 18-month program. And it's going back to school. So it's, you know, weekly classes, studying, and just learning everything you can about how food influences our long-term health.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So tell us a little bit so you said you were in corporate America and you decided to make this leap. Are you currently working in corporate America? It doesn't sound like you are.
No.
Okay. So you made the leap and started your own business. Is that true?
Yes.
How did you do that? Like, how did you walk away from us women that I'm still in corporate America, that are in corporate America, and you got the steady paycheck. And, how did you, I'm going to use the word brave, get brave and walk away from that?
Yeah, it was a process, definitely. I would say that about 4 to 5 years ago, I started to realize like this wasn't for me. I really felt that entrepreneurial fire inside of myself 5 years ago. And it was a long lead up, but I kind of had the vision of what I wanted my life to be like. And I knew I wanted to own my own business. So I started to plan and I started to save as much money as I could to give myself a little bit of a runway. And I know that a lot of people will build that runway, like start their business while they're working still. But I just wanted to get out.
Yeah.
So I just saved up my money, kind of created a plan for what I was going to do, got my certification while I was still working. That way, when I left my job, I could try to hit the ground running.
Nice. And so, tell us about, are you sort of an online? Are you an in-person? Tell us about your business. How is this all working?
Yeah, so it's right now 100% online, simply because, I started and COVID had already hit.
Right.
So but I do intend for it to be mostly online again for the women that I work with. They're so busy and not having to drive somewhere else for an appointment with their nutritionist. It helps.
Yeah, definitely. And so many questions. So I'm just gonna just fire them at you.
Yeah.
So I think I'll start with, how do you work with a client? Do you work one-on-one or do you work in groups, with groups?
So I do both. We just wrapped up a group program in September, but right now I'm focusing on one-on-one.
And so what does that look like? So when you sign up, when a client signs up,
Mhm.
what does that look like for them working with you?
Yeah, so we have typically weekly or bi-weekly sessions where we kind of talk about their health. In the beginning, I get a full picture of everything that they're dealing with because everything is so interrelated. So we spend like a full hour just talking about where they are, their background. And then it's really high accountability because I know that that's what so many women need, is someone to hold them accountable to taking care of themselves, because it's so easy in society today to, put our own needs on the back burner because there's so many other needs in the world that need to be taken care of. So it's very high touch. I provide unlimited Boxer access during the week so that, if questions come up during the week or emotions and stress that they need help dealing with, I'm always right there.
That's so interesting. So when you say like emotions and stress come up, meaning like things that could like affect emotional eating or
Yeah. I mean, I think food and emotions are so intertwined. And a lot of the women that I work with do have emotional eating patterns that we work through together. And so being able to have someone who they can just ask questions, ask for guidance on like, how do I handle this? Because we want to learn how to turn to other methods of managing our stress and emotions than turning to food. So I find that it's really helpful if like I'm just right there.
Yep, absolutely. And so what type of transformations do people have working with you?
Yeah, so at the beginning, a lot of times they feel really stressed and overwhelmed. They don't know how to eat for their unique body type and their
Okay.
lifestyle. And something that comes up a lot is they don't want to end up with the same health conditions as their parents. So they're kind of afraid of, developing, they see that they're on the path to developing a lot of the same issues. And by the end of the program, they feel really confident in what they're eating. They have energy. They don't rely on coffee anymore. I've gotten that feedback a lot. And they feel like their food choices and their health is actually supporting their long-term vitality and health rather than depleting it.
Nice. And I just want to say for my audience, because most of them know as I have my cup of coffee. Yeah, exactly. So the questions that come so fast and furious and then they leave me. So, okay, so somebody signs up. How long is a program, or how long are you working with people for?
Yeah, so that varies depending on the person's starting point and the type of support that they need. Most women sign up at first for a 3-month program, and then a lot of them do continue on and go for another 3 months, so 6 months total.
How is the check-in going?
Yeah, so that is always also on a case-by-case basis. I don't love relying on weight as a measure because I think that fluctuates naturally, and then we get in our heads about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
as women, we've been conditioned to have a lot of feelings about the number on the scale, and I want to kind of eliminate that factor.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is really like how they're feeling. I think that that's the best metric of success is, and so we do build a lot of self-awareness about how you're feeling day to day and in the morning versus the evening, and how you felt when you ate a bagel for breakfast versus a smoothie.
Yeah. So are you having them journal? How are you getting that data, or how are they getting that data on how they're feeling?
Journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's switch a little bit. So we talked a little bit about the experience from your client's perspective. Let's switch back to your perspective. So you left your corporate job, you decided to do this. You went back, were you in school while you were working?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So, and you decided to leave, and how did you find the clients? Like, how did you go out there and say, hey, here I am, and sort of build up that community?
Yeah, most of it has been through Facebook. I did start building my email list as soon as I kind of knew what my business was going to look like. So I do, reach out to my email list, but most of it has been through just different Facebook groups and building connections that way.
Oh, okay. Yep. Awesome. So so I didn't let the audience know, we sort of air quote met through a program. What's the acronym? Made to Do This, or MTDT. Yeah. With Kathy Heller. Are you still active in those groups currently?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like super active, but I definitely like go check in and I'll post occasionally. Yeah.
Yeah. And so so a lot of the women that I work with, they'll ask me, how do I go out and find my community? And if it is Facebook, how do I do that in Facebook? So not like the technical aspect, but more like, do I jump into groups? Like, can you give any advice, like how you get yourself into the groups and add that value to the group, so then you're sort of, meeting your ideal clients?
Yeah, I like to think about it as, if you were just to go to a physical in-person event, you wouldn't walk up to someone and say, hey, let me be your nutritionist, right? You would say like, hey, like, how are you doing? You would learn more about them. So I try to do the same thing in Facebook groups where I just act natural.
Right.
And just build genuine connections. And it's not always based around nutrition or my business or health or anything. And from that, I think that you find the people who resonate with you.
Yeah. And how do you find the actual Facebook groups? I get a lot of questions about that. And I'll sit with people. Actually, I just did this last night with one of my clients, and going through different Facebook groups, going through, really knowing. One of the things is that it's a little controversial, but knowing your ideal client, right? So some coaches will tell you, you have to know your ideal client and this, what they drink for, breakfast, what color hair they have. And, then there are there's some other schools of thought like, no, you don't need to be that prescriptive about it. But we all, I think, get a little hung up on that and then finding the right communities. So last night I was on a coaching call with one of my clients and we were talking about this exact topic. So what sort of advice would you give somebody that's like, I don't even know what Facebook groups to go? How do you find the Facebook groups to sort of join?
Yeah. So, I was looking for like entrepreneurial groups to join. So I just kind of start searching around and see what comes up. Like if you search keyword in Facebook groups, and you'll find some good, like some pretty big ones. Like I found one that's 500,000 members and then some small ones that are just a few hundred. And, try joining both of them and see what happens, because you might be able to build much more intimate connections in a smaller group. So yeah, just searching keywords. I focused first on just like entrepreneurial groups, and more so because that's who I connected with, right? And so looking to share business advice, trials and tribulations and all of that, and just kind of, commiserating with other entrepreneurs. So I started there, and then not being too calculating about it. Like I've definitely heard the advice of the ideal client avatar and everything. Yeah. And so I'll do a little bit of that, but also just think about like, what groups are fun for me to join? Like what's the group I'm going to have the most fun in and want to be most active in, because I think that's what is really going to help get me out there more. And that's what really matters.
Right. I love that. And it really also helps you be genuine and authentic. When you're, like you said, I'm not just jumping like a party, going up to someone and say, hey, I'll be your nutritionist. First of all, right, in that category, just to be a little silly, because sometimes I'm silly, but like if somebody came up to me and said, I'll be your nutritionist, I'd be like, what are you trying to say? Yes. But I love that advice, jumping into a group that you feel like you'd benefit from and enjoy being there. And then that sort of brings out your natural and authentic self, I think. That probably goes a long way. That's awesome. All right. One question I have to ask you that I ask everybody, because just like you said, the trials and tribulations, what would you say is a really big hurdle that you have overcome in deciding to do this?
So one that comes to mind is, I'm sure you're probably familiar with the concept of the golden handcuffs. Yeah. So that was, like I said, it took me 5 years to take the leap, and so much of that was the golden handcuffs. So I think that that's kind of like not totally related as far as a business obstacle, but just an obstacle that I did have to overcome to start my business was giving up that steady paycheck. And I just had to trust that it was going to work out. So yeah, that, and then I don't know if you want like an actual business obstacle too, or if that was.
No, that's good. Okay. So can you think or articulate how you sort of overcame that?
So this is kind of, well, I'll try to keep it short, but I experienced what I would call a quarter life crisis back a few years ago. And so I started working with a life coach, and she was amazing. And that kind of led me to a more, I guess, spiritual understanding of the world that I had had before. And so just having a concept of like, I'm being supported and it's all going to work out in my favor. I can trust that I'm being taken care of, especially when I'm, following my passion and doing what feels aligned for me. I think that was kind of the turning point for me.
Yes, that is so important. I love that. Really sort of that, like, I think sometimes people hear, I know I used to, so maybe I'm projecting, I don't feel this way anymore, but earlier on, say 5 years ago, I just totally pulled that number out of the air, but it was like, oh, the spiritual sort of connection. And I think that is a really big piece that can help. So thank you for bringing that up, because that doesn't get brought up a lot here on the Wonder Boldly podcast. But I think it is a key component. I myself have a coach, I wouldn't say a spiritual coach, I guess a life coach that sort of brought that to my attention and really gave me a different perspective than I had. That sort of really another term that's thrown around, like really masculine kind of, this is how I go about things. And it's really, I've been in corporate for 26 years, so it's really ingrained in there. Oh yeah. So thanks for bringing that up. I love that. All right, so how can people find you? How can they reach out to you and get more and more of your goodness?
Yeah, so my website is thesarahknight.com. So, there's an author already named Sarah Knight, so I had to be creative with my with my name. And then my Instagram handle is the.sarah.knight. So they can find me in those two places. And if any of your listeners are interested in a complimentary wellness consultation, I would be happy to offer that to your listeners, so they can simply DM me on Instagram and let me know. Just mention the Wonder Boldly podcast, and I would be happy to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been so great. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed this, and I'm sure everybody listening enjoyed it as well. And I think one of the things that it doesn't matter what area you're interested in, if it's a wellness coach, doesn't matter. Just really believing in yourself and making that leap, because it really is, it is a leap. So congratulations to you. I'm so happy for you. This is great. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for having me on today.
Oh, absolutely. That's it for this episode. Thank you again so much for listening. Please head over to Instagram to follow me there. And if you want more of these types of strategies and so much more around reaching your goals, you definitely want to get on my email list. You can go to my website, drizzleacademy.com, and sign up there. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did and want to share it, take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram. I'd love to connect with you. Until next time, continue to wonder boldly.